Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, saudaraku pemirsa MTATV dimanapun Anda berada. Saya Aldila Farah Elmira akan menemani Anda dalam INFRAME siang hari ini terkait kondisi terkini yang ada di Palestina. Saya sudah terhubung dengan jurnalis yang ada di Gaza, yaitu Ukhti Ummu Wafa Alauddin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Ukhti Ummu Wafa.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
How was your day?
Thank you so much, firstly, for having me in your show. And we are great. Thank you so much.
Okay. For the first, I want to talk about condition in Palestine, especially in prisoners. So I would like to thank you so much because you can attend here to report to viewers on MTATV. For the first questions, how is the condition of Palestine now? In the last update, I read that there was prisoners female who has been killed and tortured. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be with you, actually. Regarding the situation inside the Israeli occupation jails, actually, this is not the first time, but this is really the most painful time that the Israeli occupation forces inside the Israeli jails dare to assault and abuse the Palestinian female prisoners. Actually, what happened since yesterday and so far at the moment, we just received news from inside the Israeli jails that the Israeli occupation forces inside the prisons, they still assault the Palestinian female prisoners. First of all, they physically assault them and remove their hijab and remove their headscarf from they beaten them, and actually they prevent bath water from them for 3 days, and they put some of them inside the solitary confinement cells. And you can imagine when I tell you, like a woman just sit in 1 meter in a cell of only 1 meter, and the bathroom and the hair and the bath, everything is inside this 1 meter, and you can imagine how painful and how really so tough to be inside, for a woman to be inside such a place. And actually, you know that we have nearly 23 Palestinian female prisoners inside the Israeli jails, and we can say that every day they got assaulted and they got abused by the Israeli forces inside the prisons. But this time it's really so painful, and it's really so tough and so difficult for them, since we are talking about winter. So they need clothes and they need blankets, they need many things. But the Israeli occupation authorities actually prevent their families from bringing them more clothes, more winter clothes, and they prevent them from even bring blankets for them in order to feel warm and to heat themselves. Also, we hear the news, or we received the news from inside the prisons, from the lawyers, that also they cut the electricity. So you can imagine that the life inside the Israeli prison is really so bad, and it's really so difficult, especially in winter. Like when there is rain, they just found it on their beds and on the ground. The water, the rainwater on the ground and on their bed, and nobody act. I mean, the occupation authorities, they just ignore their suffering, and above this all, they just also they just double their suffering by issuing more punishment conditions and more harmful conditions and agreements on the Palestinian female prisoners.
Okay. So that is commonly happen in Palestine, especially for a female?
Sorry, can you say that again, please?
It commonly happen, especially in
Yeah.
female.
Yeah, actually, as I told you, the life inside the Israeli prison, it's really, even the animals can't live such a situation, especially in winter. And indeed, they sometimes they just put them in solitary confinement and they assault them. But this time, actually, it's the most painful and the most harmful one, because they just prevent water from them and they just cut electricity, they punish them, they just dispute them and put them, each one of them, in a different place. And this is not good because sometimes they need each other to be with each other. But this time they just distribute them to different places, to different cells, to be by themselves in order to be able to do whatever they want, when they want to abuse any of them. Actually, inside the Israeli jails, when any of the Israeli officers assault on a Palestinian female prisoners, all of them stand together and fight for this female prisoner, and then they just help her from the attack. But this time is different because they put them, each one of them, in a different places, because this will be easier for the Israeli forces to assault them without anybody to fight or to defend them. So it will be easier for the officers and for the soldiers to attack a woman without anybody helping her from around.
Okay, so can you tell me more about remove the hijab in
Yeah.
prisoners?
Yeah, actually, indeed, inside the Israeli prison, it's really so difficult for Palestinian women to remove their hijab, because they all of the time they put cameras all of the time inside their cells inside the prisons. So whenever they want to, they never ever remove their hijab. They just fully dressed, because most of them are Muslims. And indeed, this time when they assault them, they try to humiliate them, they try to abuse them and provoke them by removing their hijab from their heads. And one of them actually got fainted from after she got beaten by the Israeli forces. So this is really so bad, and it's really provocative for all Muslims, not only for Palestinian women.
Okay, Ukti Umu. So how long the Israeli occupation are in the prisoners to jail them in the prisoners? How long?
Yeah, yeah, actually, like sometimes it's like imprisonment for life. Most of the Palestinian prisoners, actually, they just got imprisoned for life. It's not for a few days or a few months or a few years. It's just for nearly at least 10 years and at least 20 years. Not less than that. But most of the prisoners inside the Israeli jails, actually, they got imprisoned for life, and they serve all of their lives inside the Israeli prisons. And actually, they at the moment they are just eagerly waiting Palestinian swap between the Palestinian resistance here in Gaza, because they capture Israeli soldiers. So the prisoners inside the prison, I mean those who got imprisoned for life, they actually eagerly for this exchange swap, because this is the only way that they can get free from the occupation jails. So at the moment, we hope that this exchange swap will be very soon, and all of the prisoners, inshallah, will be free, inshallah, very soon.
Okay, Umu Ukti. So it's like what we see in the video. I would like to know about condition in Sheikh Jarrah that journalists, Palestinian journalists and activists assaulted by Israeli occupation. Can you tell me about the video?
Yeah. Actually, this is not new for Israeli soldiers. They are just occupation, and they try by all means to suppress and to abuse the Palestinians. And this time, while Palestinians from Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, which is in occupied Jerusalem, they just protest peacefully as they do because they actually live under such very cruel situation, and there are so many violations from the Israelis. So they are just protesting peacefully, but sadly, even when they protest peacefully, and so many of the activists, so many of the journalists were there, they just assault them and prevent their protests. Indeed. So, for example, one of the journalists who got assaulted and got beaten, physically beaten by the Israeli forces, is the Associated Press journalist. He got beaten and got injured. He sustained injured in his head. So. Yeah, and actually they detained some of the protesters, and some of them, because I mean, the Israeli forces, they just fire at them rubber bullets. Of course, some of them sustained some injuries after this protest.
Okay, so how did the Israeli occupation launch attack in journalists and activists? Is it like with a bomb or gun or the others?
Um, can you say that again, please? The question again. Sorry, I didn't get
How
you.
did the Israeli launch attack in Sheikh Jarrah with journalists and activists? Is it like with a gun or a bomb or the others?
So you are just asking me like what are the things that they
Yeah,
use?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this is they just use like the pepper gas. They fire it at the protesters, and they fire at them actually rubber costed bullets, and to despair them and to prevent their protests, or indeed we can say to silence them. So they just fire use the lethal force in order to silence the people and to let them stop asking for their legal rights.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
that common happen in Sheikh Jarrah on the other place happen too?
yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, since actually this is occupation, and they occupy Palestine since nearly 1948, and this means that every single day we got assaulted, we got hit, we got abused by the occupation forces, because they are occupation and they want to spread their power. They want the people to kneel, and they want the people to give up their land, and also to just to give up their right and then leave Palestine for them, because they just believe that they are the chosen people, and this land is theirs. Even most of them are from Western countries and from different several countries, and they came and they occupied Palestine in 1948, but they just believe that they are the one who should be in this land. So on the lives of Palestinians, they just every day they assault them. Every day they storm their homes. Every day they kill them. They murder them. They massacre them. Yeah, I mean, like thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands got killed since the occupation of Palestine. So many got injured. Sorry, got jailed. And yeah, since we are talking about occupation, this means that every single day we are going to see so many violations to the international law, so many violations to human rights, to humanity, indeed. So. Yeah, like for Palestinians, like we have every day there is a Palestinian killed, and every day there is dozens of Palestinians got jailed. Even they are minors, even they are if they are children, they jailed them actually in inside the Israeli jails.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, yeah, this is
Okay.
occupation, of course. Yeah.
So for the last question, Miss, as a journalist, you are a journalist. What is your suggestion to the other journalists, especially Palestinian journalists, if they get into the same situation?
Yeah. Of course, you know, since when you are a journalist inside Palestine, inside occupied Palestine, this means that you are subjected to being killed, to being murdered, to being jailed, to being assaulted, and you are under threat, you are under risk all the time. So they should be patient because we do have a cause. We do have like our people are suffering here in Palestine, and nobody. I mean, there is like the media outside just distort the image of Palestinians. Yeah, they are fighting for their right. They are fighting for their land. But the people outside, I mean, the media, which is controlled by the Israeli propaganda and the Israeli lobby and. You know, which is controlled really by the Israelis. So they are trying to distort the image of Palestinian people as they are terrorists, and they want to occupy what is known as Israel and this rubbish stuff. But indeed, the thing is, like, they have to come to Palestine. I mean, those people, those journalists who are from outside Palestine, don't listen to this media, the mainstream media. Just come to Palestine and see by yourself the violations. See by yourself the checkpoints, really
Okay,
the
okay.
brutal checkpoints and so many things.
Okay, so
So yeah,
so they
yeah, yeah.
fight for right human or human right. I mean, okay. Uh, Thank you so much, Uhti, our Wafa, for reporting us about the condition in Palestine. See you again. May Allah protect us whenever and wherever we are. We will
Yeah.
always pray, wish for our Palestinian brothers and sisters in Palestinian in the protection of Allah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much, sister, and may Allah accept your dua. And thank you for shedding the light on what is happening in Palestine. Thank you
You're
so much. Have a
welcome.
good day.
Baik pemirsa MTATV dimanapun Anda berada, jadi tadi terkait kondisi terkini yang ada di Palestina, khususnya di penjara Israel, yang berada di penjara Israel dan juga di wilayah Sheikh Jarrah. Jadi di mana mereka ini, para tawanan-tawanan yang ada di penjara Israel ini tidak hanya ditahan, namun mereka juga disiksa. Jadi semau mereka, semau penduduk Israel mau ngapain aja. Dan tadi dikatakan bahwa di sana itu tidak diberi makan, minum, bahkan mereka membutuhkan kebutuhan sehari-hari seperti selimut, apalagi di musim yang dingin ini. Dan kemudian bahkan ada beberapa muslim di penjara itu yang harus melepas jilbabnya. Jadi sangat menyakitkan banget kan teman-teman. Jadi luar biasa sekali perjuangan mereka yang ada di Palestina ini. Dan kemudian yang ada di Sheikh Jarrah juga tidak hanya para warga biasa, tapi juga jurnalis dan juga para aktivis ini diserang secara tiba-tiba tanpa alasan, dan mereka sehingga sampai saat ini masih memperjuangkan hak-hak mereka untuk menempati tempat tinggal mereka maupun melakukan aktivitas kesehariannya. Kita di sini hanya bisa mendoakan semoga Allah senantiasa melindungi saudara-saudara kita yang ada di Palestina. Demikian laporan dari Gaza. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kita akan jumpa lagi di INFRAME pekan depan.